Okay. Up next, we have Amanda Bunting.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda, and today I'm here to talk to you about institutional strategies to support research staff and manage disruptive research participants. I want to say today I'm just like the voice box for a ton of people. I think some didn't even fit on the screen, including the very own meta research Greg here today, who have really, this is as we've seen in a lot of projects, it takes a ton of people to think about these types of topics. So here at NYU Langone Health, we engage with diverse populations across a variety of settings in our research, in the community, online, here in the hospital and other healthcare locations. And while there are several mechanisms in place, like the presentation we just heard about, the IRB, to protect human research participants, less attention has been given about protecting research staff. And while most research interactions are positive, and I say that as a community engaged PI who still does a lot of primary data collection myself, there are situations that occur where research staff experience unacceptable behavior, including harassment by research participants. And so this phenomena was named participant-perpetrated harassment, or PPH, in the literature. It was formalized as a term by a Goodwin et al. Study that was implementing protocols in the VA research systems. It's in NYU, we've termed it unacceptable behavior, or UB, of research participants. But what we're referring to is really harassment in any form, very broadly enacted by a potential or a currently enrolled research participant onto research staff. And the prevalence is unknown, which I'll talk a little bit about, but it does seem that inappropriate sexual remarks, negative remarks about appearance, and racially targeted comments are potentially the most common, and that these are more often directed towards research staff who tend to be women, non-white, and or younger, including intersectional identities. So motivated by my research team was collecting data, and we have a participant code of conduct that we always have in place that we review with our participants. And then in our Department of Population Health, we heard some rumblings and had some research teams approach us about some circumstances that had occurred. And so that motivated us to dive a bit deeper into this concept of unacceptable behavior by research participants, including practical concerns like, can a consented research participant be removed from the study for disruptive behavior or bias or harassment? What is the IRB process to document those types of incidents and or remove the participant from the study? And then really, funneling out what training or resources are available here at NYU, but also other schools. What are they doing about this? And what's the evidence base more broadly? What's known about the prevalence of participant-perpetrated harassment and successful strategies that can be implemented? So to approach this, we had sort of two buckets of goals here. We wanted to understand the state of research that has explicitly examined the safety of research staff from various forms of harassment perpetrated by research participants. And it's actually a typo. We did a scoping review, which I typed correctly below. But so we did a scoping review of the peer-reviewed literature. We also did a review of other institutional review boards, so their websites, and then also contacting those IRBs if we didn't hear back, of academic medical schools who also had CTSI awards. Our second sort of prong goal was to inform the creation of training and best practices to influence internal policy here, and then potentially for a greater audience related to the safety of research staff when interacting with research participants. To that end, we registered our scoping review protocol. This has been many years in the making. So in June 2023 was when we registered, and that QR code takes you to that link. So to get into our results, that first bucket of goal of understanding the state of research results from our scoping review. And I just very simply cut from our diagram here, but you can imagine that in the search terms, we had to have really broad as far as all these different ways to refer to the term harassment, all these different ways for the research participant relationship, because participant perpetrated harassment isn't like a widely used term. And so that ended up yielding 1,422 It was quite a bit to go through, but luckily we were able to get rid of some duplicates. On the other side of the screen, you'll also see our references from all the emails that were sent, and all the scouring of IRB websites did not yield anything. Some IRBs didn't get back to us, but the ones that did not have any formal policies about participant-perpetrated harassment. We had a wonderful team, 2 of them. What a powerhouse that did the first abstract and tech screening, and that brought us down to 119 studies. And then doing a full text, the studies we assessed for eligibility brought us down to 33 studies that we found that explicitly in some way are covering the topic of harassment to researchers perpetrated by research participants. There's a lot to consider related to the results of those 33 studies, but I just picked out 2 things that I thought would be of most interest. First, it's sort of an overview of the types of harassment that were included. These are not mutually exclusive. The studies could speak about other multiple forms of harassment. For example, you'll see that some of the greatest are sexual harassment, physical safety, and then the last category there, this more sort of like broader other inappropriate behaviors, or perhaps not naming a specific harassment. Encouragingly, almost all of the included manuscripts provided recommendations. These recommendations include the use of safety protocols, having institutional protocols, informal training opportunities, and gathering support from a myriad of sources, including institutions, IRBs, peers, supervisors was the most heavily endorsed, as well as having mental health support. Hopping over to okay, that was like sort of the research component of it, but what are we doing with the research and how has that been moving along this whole time? Our second goal that I mentioned was informing the creation of training and best practices, which has been a really excellent like iterative collaboration to promote safe research here at NYU Langone Health. So myself and some of my other colleagues were located in Department of Population Health, and so we had iterative processes with IRB. We also engaged legal and human resources, and it's really been a really great collaboration to create some formal policies. So in September, shortly after that scoping review was registered, the official institutional policy on managing disruptive research participants was announced that fall. It defines what disruptive participant behavior is in research. It includes this blanket statement of conduct on participants in research studies. I mentioned I had a code of conduct and they were able to adapt that. And so now that's blanket approved. Research study teams don't have to request this or include this document on their own like they used to in the past. It also outlines specific steps that research teams can implement to manage disruptive behavior. So before, you used to sort of have to go to IRB, say, oh, we're having this incident, we're thinking about removing the participant, and there'd be like a little bit of a process. Now there's very clear formalized steps on what actions you're able to take. A little bit after that, there was addition of consent language. So now the sort of blanket consent protocol here includes revised informed consent language that links participants to their statement on conduct, and also states that if they fail to obey that, they can be removed. And this is just what it looks like. It's 10.6 in the IRB if you're interested. And on the other side is the statement of conduct that participants get. The timeline of other things that have sort of been occurring. So like I said, this has been a labor of love. It's been a long time. Those policies were implemented in the fall of 2023. In the winter of 2024, some more of those documents came, including that statement of conduct that I mentioned. This past summer, we took all of that information that we found in the scoping review and really distilled it to what are the best practices and what are some other things that we found out there. And we have a draft curriculum for this training, protecting research teams from unacceptable behavior by participants that we've been working on in collaboration with the IRB. And so this fall, we're going to be piloting that training as a more interactive training with a few research teams to get feedback and refine. And then that training will be becoming a two-part training for both PIs and research staff that will be available on Learning, which is the NYU's learning management platform, used to be Focus, the new name's Learning. So our sort of conclusions, next steps, all team members deserve to feel safe and respected in research settings. And while the near majority of our interactions are really positive, we just want to have supports in place for ones when they may not be. So we're going to be submitting our manuscript with those scoping review results this fall, and then we'll continue to pilot, refine, and launch the training for research staff and PIs in learning. Thank you.